What's up guys, it's me, Pinaphones, and today I want to talk about mascot horror games. Are horror games becoming soft? I saw a video titled, When Did Video Games Become So Soft? It was a good video and why you should be able to do whatever you want to do in a video game, and how studios feel like they can't offend anyone. I feel this towards horror games as well. I will talk about 2 horror games from 2014 and 2 games from 2021 and compare. Five Nights at Freddy's came out in 2014 and everyone and their big fat mama played it. It's a smash hit. You work from 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. in a night shift job at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Freddy and his friends do get a little quirky at night. You need to keep these monsters away from your room. You got cameras, doors, lights, and a fan to keep you safe. We got the extrovert known as Freddy, the guitarist known as Bonnie. We got the introvert known as Foxy. We also got the woman known as Chica. But the lore is dark. I want to explain the FNaF lore like it's FNaF 1 is the only game to give you an idea of what the lore was like back then. It's about a murderer who took the lives of 5 kids, stuffed them into the robots. 1 for Chica, 1 for Freddy, 1 for Bonnie, 1 for Foxy, and 1 for the yellow bear. The cops couldn't find the bodies, so the killer got away, never catching him. There also was the Bite of 87, when one of the mascot characters bitten someone to death. Do you know how much horror media doesn't kill kids? Halloween 3 is the only movie that killed kids, and that was shocking. But then the series would continue with this dark story. We later knew that even more lives were lost. Charlie, Elizabeth, and the crying child. The series was going a good path, but it got ruined. I'll get back to that one later. Cry Fear shows us stuff Twitter girls would faint if this was released in 2024, but it was released in 2012. It takes place in Sweden, where we meet our player character named Simon. Simon said that he's been sad his whole life and that he doesn't know if he likes it or he's just used to it. We end up in the alleyways trying to get home, but it won't be that easy. He runs into these monsters. They don't like him. They try to kill him. But we also met a boss with a chainsaw. We tried killing him, but then he sliced his head off with the chainsaw. This might seem like something edgy, but this is important, as there's more references of self-harm. We end up going to the rooftops and see Simon's only friend. Him and her talk about each other for a bit, and Simon tries to ask her out, but then she says, no, and falls off the building. She turns into this monster. We can either fight it or run away. We meet a doctor who we battle with, but now you realize that in Cry Fear, Simon is usually alone. When we do meet a human, they're either a peaceful friend or a crazy doctor. After we kill the doctor, we do more. We end up home, but we realize the twist of the story. This whole game was just a story made up. Simon lost his legs in a car crash, so he wrote a story to put his feelings on paper. In the multiple bad endings, Simon ends up ending his own life. But in the only good ending in the game, we are the real world Simon facing Simon from our story. But Simon ends up killing his bad side, and we are now in reality.
I stopped myself from doing it, from committing suicide. But it didn't only leave me alive, it also left 2 police officers dead. I killed them. Shot them both. This was not supposed to happen. Doctors testified that I was having a psychosis, which means that my punishment won't be too hard for me to bear. have to spend the rest of my life in a mental hospital, where nurses and doctors are taking care of me. They let me finish my book, and it has helped me a lot. I wrote a happy ending, just for myself. I feel better now. I am more at peace with myself, even though I'm still stuck in this wheelchair. But I accept that now. I can never forgive myself for shooting those 2 officers though. But I have so many supportive people around me now, so I think I will be okay. Dr. Purnell is mentoring me and is watching my progress. I'm lucky to have him. Sophie visits me every once in a while. When the doctors let her, that is. They still think her visits are too destabilizing for me and that it hinders my progress. I keep on telling her how sorry I am for making her life miserable every time she's here. She just laughs a bit and tells me to stop being so silly. But I can see the damage I've done to her in her eyes every time she looks at me. She found a new friend, one who is there for her and treats her right. I'm happy for her, though I'll miss the good moments we've had, knowing that they'll never come back. I think this is a good time to close this book. It has changed my life forever. The end.
Simon tells us how he stopped himself from ending himself, but it led to 2 cops dead. Simon is now in a mental hospital. He now has doctors taking care of him, and his friend comes to visit. He wrote a happy ending to his fictional story. Now it's the end. Now everyone is happy. Cry of Fear tells us how depression can make you hurt yourself or others. Depression is something that can do crazy things to you, but some people are lucky enough to make it through. Like I said, nowadays this game would be something TikTok kids would not be able to handle. Lots of online media has trigger warnings. Not getting mad, but getting triggered nowadays is getting sensitive or something. I think this is a good horror game. Now we are getting to the bad horror games. FNaF Security Breach is trash. It's just a reason to make a FNaF a free roam game with 0 custom night. Sister Location added Ender's boss fight and custom night, which brought back the normal FNaF gameplay. So people who wanted something new got that, and people who wanted the normal FNaF gameplay got that too. It was a win-win for everyone. Sure, it was a very flawed game, but it's definitely a classic within the series. But when Steelwool made Security Breach, the thought process was something like this. What did people like about Five Nights at Freddy's? The fun gameplay, the complex yet bearable lore, main 4 characters? Great, let's change it all of it. The fun gameplay, gone. The complex yet bearable lore, gone. The main 4 characters, half gone. Basically what makes a FNaF game is gone. Instead of Bonnie and Foxy being in the game, we got Monty and Roxy. One character that the fanbase loves, one character not so much. Well, we got the lore, yes, but it's even more complicated. The game's lore relies on the books that weren't even out yet, so the theories were stuck for a while. Well, then there were so many bugs, basically unplayable trash. Okay, but at least the story makes sense. No, it doesn't. Who's Vanny and why are there 2 of her? Why is William F. not a computer virus, but once again in the real world? I didn't really like the computer virus story that much to begin with, but maybe he should go back, because this storyline is very unnecessary. Also, the enemies talk non-stop. They talk like they are playing a game of tag. Also, instead of a night guard, we play as a stupid child. The only likable characters are Sun and Moon, but they have the least amount of screen time. Freddy was a good character too. He came to people. This is just a broken game made for Christmas sales. Nobody really likes this game. The only people who liked this game were about like 12 years of age. It wasn't a very good game, but things don't get much better. Poppy Playtime Chapter 1 and 2 has got to be the most overrated video games of all time. You end up knowing about Playtime Co., which is a popular toy company in the 90s. Basically, we are an ex-worker but we went there after 10 years because we got some suspicious notes. Now, I would just throw these notes in the trash and move on with my day, but it seems like the protagonist goes there. So he gets a grab pack, which is basically a dollar store portal gun. Now when we use this hand to solve a puzzle, we meet a toy named Huggy Wuggy. Oh my god. First of all, this has got to be the most generic toy ever. So we end up turning on the power and get the red hand. This red hand makes us do more puzzles. So we end up in the world's largest vents and turn on the toy machine. We make this toy cat and open the door. We get chased by Huggy Wuggy, and he chases us through the vents. These vents are also large. Then we make a box fall down, and Huggy Wuggy dies. And there's blood coming out. This is so scary. Oh my god. I'm kidding. This is a toy. Why is there blood? There's no reason for their blood to be there. Anyway, we open the case of this doll named Poppy, who seems to be the first doll to have a conversation with a child.
Her name is Poppy, and she is the first truly intelligent doll in the world. A little girl can talk to her. Poppy gives her answers. She is the first doll actually able to have a conversation with a child.
It's a game with good ideas, but ends up not even trying. It's very just nothing. It's just an empty game with branding. Chapter 2 isn't much better either. The only thing that redeems itself is Chapter 3. It's very good, but that doesn't mean the first two chapters don't exist. It's a perfect example of how if you make one good thing, people will ignore the bad and will praise you for that one good thing. Also, multiplayer is basic at best. Did horror games become soft? Yes, definitely. That's not the end of the video. I just want to ask, why are horror games becoming soft? So here's my rundown. In 2014, a lot of kids, myself included, got into FNaF, so more studios made indie games like this. It started out fine until we got to the game known as Hello Neighbor. Hello Neighbor is a video game where the full release had a lot of backlash due to it being a broken pile of trash. But it still got kids like me back in the day hooked on it. Looking back on it, wow, this is terrible. But this is when studios realized they didn't need to make good games to become successful. No, in the year 2024, Mascot Horror is getting revived by Poppy Playtime Chapter 3, previously mentioned, and Indigo Park. But even new titles like Garden 7 and Muzzy are making the genre backtrack to its state in 2023. So really, it's a tug of war when it comes to trash games coming out and good games coming out. This is also making the indie horror genre looking pretty bad right now. It's not everything coming out, but a lot of the popular stuff that comes out is Mascot Horror. So I do not think that Mascot Horror or indie horror or horror games in general are dying. I think the indie side is just making games for kids and can't show anything graphic or else parents will complain about it. Well, not that it works anyway.
It's unsettling, Steve and Jeanette, and it's called, innocently enough, the Huggy Wuggy game.
so it's just a scummy pyramid scheme. Well, I hope you enjoy this video. Make sure to watch some of my other videos and leave a like. This video was fun to make. I hope I get more views.